Are you struggling to climb stairs the way you used to? Do your legs feel weak after standing for just a few minutes? Have you noticed getting up from a chair has become slower, or are you worried one wrong step could lead to a dangerous fall? If you answered yes to even one of these questions, you're not alone, and more importantly, you're in exactly the right place. Hi, this is Dr. Raymond Carter. Always check with your physician before starting any new exercise routine, especially if you have existing health conditions. After 33 years as a surgeon, I've seen something that still bothers me. Two patients can be the same age, both over 75, both active, both walking every single day, yet one keeps living independently into their late 80s, while the other quietly loses strength, balance, and confidence within just a few years. The difference almost never comes down to luck or genetics. I'm talking to you directly now because you probably walk, maybe every morning, maybe every evening, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you believe that as long as you keep walking, you're doing what you're supposed to do. That belief is incredibly common, and after 75, it can be dangerously incomplete. Here's the insight most seniors are never told. Walking keeps you alive, but does not keep you strong. The science explains why. Walking is a repetitive, low-demand movement that barely challenges balance reactions, does little to preserve leg power, doesn't wake up the stabilizing muscles around the hips, knees, and spine, and almost completely ignores the nervous system pathways that protect you from falling. After 75, those are the exact systems that decline first. What shocked many doctors, including myself, was this. When researchers followed older adults into their late 70s, 80s, and 90s, step counts did not predict independence, but a small set of specific exercises did. Exercises that looked simple, almost boring, yet they protected joints, trained balance reflexes, and kept muscles responsive in ways walking never could. In this video, we're going to reveal and rank 5 surgeon-approved exercises that protect your body better than walking alone after 75, from the least important to the most critical. Stay with me until the end, because number 2 stunned researchers when studies showed it was one of the strongest predictors of staying upright, independent, and pain-free well into advanced age. Where are you watching from right now? Leave it in the comments. I personally read through them and respond whenever I can. Now let's start with number 5, the overlooked exercise most seniors have never been shown, even though it quietly prepares your body for safer, stronger movement every single day. Number 5 is seated marching. Before you dismiss this as too simple to make any real difference, let me share what researchers at the University of Missouri discovered. The study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that seated marching activates the hip flexor muscles in a way that walking simply cannot match. Your hip flexors are responsible for lifting your legs, and are absolutely critical for preventing what doctors call shuffling gait, that slow, dragging walk that dramatically increases your risk of tripping and falling. The problem with walking is that it only uses about 30% of your hip flexor capacity because your feet never need to lift very high off the ground. But seated marching forces these muscles to work through their full range of motion, building strength and flexibility that directly translates to safer, more confident walking. I had a patient named Margaret, 78 years old, who came to me after 2 near falls in her kitchen. She walked daily but shuffled badly. Within 3 weeks of adding seated marching to her routine, her walking pattern completely transformed, and she went from needing a walker to using just a cane. To perform seated marching correctly, sit in a sturdy chair with your back straight and your feet flat on the floor about hip width apart. Slowly lift your right knee as high as you comfortably can while keeping your back straight and your core engaged. Hold it at the top for 1 second, Then lower it back down with control and repeat with your left leg. The key is to focus on lifting your knee high rather than fast, because the strengthening benefit comes from working through the full range of motion, not from speed. Aim for 20 repetitions on each leg, which means 40 total marches, and do this 2 to 3 times per day, ideally once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once in the evening. Many of my patients do their seated marching while watching television, which is perfectly fine because the exercise is gentle enough that it doesn't require your full concentration, but effective enough that it creates real, measurable changes in muscle strength and walking safety within just a few weeks. One important tip is to gradually increase the hold time at the top of each march, starting with 1 second and working your way up to 3 or even 5 seconds over several weeks, because this extended hold dramatically increases the strengthening effect on your hip flexors and also improves the mind-muscle connection that helps you control your legs more precisely when walking. Before we continue, press that like button and subscribe so you're here for the next breakthrough tip. Number 4 is wall push-ups. This exercise addresses one of the most overlooked yet critical aspects of healthy aging that walking completely ignores, which is upper body strength. A landmark study at Tufts University, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, followed over 8,000 adults over 75 and found that upper body weakness was actually a stronger predictor of mortality and loss of independence than lower body weakness, which completely contradicts what most people assume. The researchers discovered that adults over 75 with weak upper bodies were 3 times more likely to be unable to get up after a fall, 4 times more likely to struggle with basic tasks like opening jars or lifting grocery bags, and significantly more likely to experience declining health that led to nursing home placement. The wall push-up is the perfect upper body exercise for anyone over 75 because it provides all the strengthening benefits of a traditional push-up without putting dangerous stress on the wrists, shoulders, or spine. When you perform a wall push-up correctly, you're strengthening your chest muscles, shoulder muscles, triceps, and most importantly, your core stabilizers, all of which work together to help you catch yourself if you start to fall, push yourself up from a lying or sitting position, and maintain the posture that prevents back pain and breathing problems. To perform a wall push-up with proper form, stand facing a wall at about arm's length distance. Place your palms flat against the wall at shoulder height and shoulder width apart. Then slowly bend your elbows and lean your body toward the wall while keeping your back straight and your core tight. Lower yourself until your nose nearly touches the wall, then push back to the starting position with control. The most common mistake is standing too close to the wall, which makes the exercise too easy to provide any real strengthening benefit, so make sure you're far enough away that you feel your muscles working, but not so far that you cannot maintain good form. Start with 2 sets of 10 wall push-ups per day and gradually increase to 3 sets of 15 over 4 to 6 weeks. The pace should be slow and controlled, taking about 2 seconds to lower yourself toward the wall and 2 seconds to push back, because this slow tempo maximizes muscle engagement and reduces the risk of joint strain. One advanced tip is to focus on squeezing your shoulder blades together at the bottom of each repetition before you push back, because this engages the muscles of your upper back that are critical for maintaining good posture and preventing the hunched forward position that so many older adults develop. As you get stronger, you can gradually increase the difficulty by moving your feet farther from the wall or by transitioning to doing push-ups against a sturdy countertop, but always prioritize proper form over difficulty. Number 3 is resistance band rows. This exercise targets what physical therapists call the posterior chain, which includes all the muscles running along the back of your body from your neck down to your heels. A comprehensive study published in the Journal of Gerontology examined over 15,000 adults over the age of 70 and found that weakness in the posterior chain muscles was the single strongest predictor of forward stooped posture, chronic back pain, and difficulty with essential daily activities like reaching into cabinets, pulling open doors, and even taking deep breaths. Walking does almost nothing to strengthen these critical muscles because walking is primarily a forward motion that engages the front of your body, which actually worsens the muscle imbalance that causes so many seniors to develop that hunched forward posture. Resistance band rows are my #1 prescription for any patient over 75 who complains of back pain, poor posture, or difficulty with reaching and pulling movements, and the results are often dramatic within just 4 to 6 weeks of consistent practice. To perform resistance band rows correctly, you'll need a resistance band with handles, which you can purchase at any sporting goods store or online for less than $15. Start with a light resistance band and gradually work your way up to medium resistance as you get stronger. Sit in a sturdy chair and place the middle of the band under both feet. Then hold one handle in each hand with your palms facing each other. Sit up tall with your shoulders back and your core engaged. Then pull both handles toward your rib cage by bending your elbows and squeezing your shoulder blades together. Hold for 1 second at the top of the movement, then slowly return to the starting position with control. The key is to focus on initiating the movement by squeezing your shoulder blades together rather than just pulling with your arms, because this ensures you're targeting the upper back muscles that are so critical for good posture and spinal health. Perform 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions every other day, allowing at least 1 day of rest between sessions for your muscles to recover and grow stronger. One important tip is to avoid shrugging your shoulders up toward your ears during the movement, which is a very common mistake that shifts the work away from your upper back and onto your neck muscles, potentially causing strain and headaches. Instead, consciously keep your shoulders down and away from your ears throughout the entire movement, imagining that you're tucking your shoulder blades into your back pockets as you pull. Another modification that can increase effectiveness is to add a pause at the fully contracted position, holding for 2 to 3 seconds, with your shoulder blades fully squeezed together before slowly releasing, because this extended contraction dramatically increases the strengthening effect and helps develop the muscular endurance that translates to better posture throughout the day. #2 is chair squats. This exercise directly addresses what researchers have identified as the #1 functional limitation that leads to loss of independence in older adults, which is the inability to get up from a seated position without assistance. A sobering study published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology found that adults over 60 who could not rise from a seated position on the floor without using their hands for support had a mortality rate that was nearly 6 times higher over the following 6 years compared to those who could perform this task easily. While getting up from the floor is the most challenging version, the ability to stand up from a chair without using your hands is the baseline that every person over 75 should be working to maintain, and chair squats are the single most effective exercise for preserving and even improving this critical ability. Chair squats work by strengthening the quadriceps, gluteal muscles, and core stabilizers simultaneously in the exact movement pattern that you use dozens of times every single day when you sit down and stand up from chairs, toilets, car seats, and beds. Walking does almost nothing to build the specific strength needed for this movement, which is why many avid walkers are shocked to find that they still struggle to get up from low chairs or sofas. I remember a patient named Robert, 81, who walked 3 miles every day, but couldn't stand up from his recliner without pushing off with his arms. After just 3 weeks of practicing chair squats twice daily, he could rise smoothly from any chair in his house, and he told me it felt like getting 10 years of his life back. To perform a chair squat correctly, stand in front of a sturdy chair that doesn't roll or slide. Position your feet about shoulder width apart with your toes pointing slightly outward. Extend your arms straight out in front of you for balance. Then slowly lower yourself down until your buttocks just touch the seat of the chair. Pause for 1 second without actually sitting down and resting. Then push through your heels to stand back up to the starting position. The most important aspect is to lower yourself slowly and with control, taking about 3 to 4 seconds to descend, because this eccentric or lowering phase is actually where most of the strengthening benefit occurs. Start with 10 chair squats twice per day and gradually increase to 15 or 20 repetitions as you get stronger. Most of my patients see significant improvement in their ability to stand from seated positions within just 2 to 3 weeks of consistent practice. One crucial tip is to make sure you're pushing through your heels rather than your toes as you stand up, because pushing through your heels engages your gluteal muscles and takes stress off your knees, while pushing through your toes can strain your knee joints and puts you at greater risk of losing your balance forward. If you find chair squats too challenging at first, you can make them easier by using a higher chair or by placing a firm cushion on the seat to reduce the distance you need to lower yourself, then gradually remove the cushion or switch to a lower chair as you get stronger. Another modification that dramatically increases effectiveness is to add a pause at the bottom of each repetition, holding the position with your buttocks, just barely touching the chair for 3 to 5 seconds before standing up, because this eliminates any momentum and forces your muscles to do all the work, which accelerates strength gains significantly. Now, the number one exercise on this list is something far more powerful. Number 1 is single leg balance holds. The research supporting this exercise is so compelling that it has completely transformed how medical professionals approach fall prevention in older adults. A groundbreaking study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine followed over 1,700 adults over the age of 70 for 12 years and discovered something remarkable. The researchers found that the inability to stand on one leg for 10 seconds was associated with an 84% increased risk of death from any cause over the following decade, making this simple balance test one of the most powerful predictors of overall health and longevity ever discovered in aging research. But here's what makes this finding so important and actionable for you right now. The research also showed that balance is not fixed, and that adults over 75 who practice single leg balance holds consistently were able to dramatically improve their performance and reduce their fall risk, even if they started with very poor balance. Single leg balance holds work by strengthening the small stabilizer muscles in your ankles, knees, and hips that are critical for maintaining your equilibrium when you encounter unexpected challenges like uneven sidewalks, slippery floors, or bumping into obstacles. Walking does almost nothing to train these stabilizer muscles, because when you walk, you always have at least one foot on the ground, providing a stable base. But life constantly presents situations where you briefly have all your weight on one foot, like when you step over something, turn a corner, or reach for an object. And these are precisely the moments when falls typically occur. To perform a single leg balance, Hold safely and effectively. Stand next to a sturdy countertop or the back of a heavy chair that you can grab if you start to lose your balance. Shift your weight onto your right foot, then slowly lift your left foot just a few inches off the ground, and hold this position for as long as you can while maintaining good posture with your eyes looking straight ahead. When you first start practicing, you may only be able to hold the position for a few seconds before needing to put your foot down or grab the support surface, and this is completely normal and exactly where many people over 75 begin. The goal is to gradually increase your hold time, working toward 30 seconds on each leg, and practice single leg balance holds at least 3 times per day. Ideally while doing something you already do regularly, like brushing your teeth, waiting for the microwave, or watching television, because this makes it easy to remember and incorporate into your daily routine without feeling like an additional chore. One of the most important tips is to progressively challenge yourself by removing external support as you improve, starting with 2 fingers lightly touching the countertop, then progressing to 1 finger, then just hovering your hand nearby without touching, and eventually practicing with no support nearby at all, but always in a safe environment. Another powerful modification that dramatically accelerates balance improvement is to practice with your eyes closed once you can comfortably hold the position for 30 seconds with your eyes open, because removing visual input forces your proprioceptive system, which is the internal sense of body position, to work much harder. And research shows that this is the single most effective way to improve the automatic balance reactions that protect you from falls in daily life. Also, practice on different surfaces as you advance, starting on a firm floor, then progressing to a carpeted surface, then perhaps a folded towel, because this variability trains your balance system to adapt to the unpredictable surfaces you encounter in the real world. The research on single-leg balance holds is so compelling that many orthopedic surgeons now consider the ability to stand on one leg for 10 seconds to be a vital sign of aging that is just as important as blood pressure or heart rate. And improving this ability through consistent practice may be the single most effective thing any person over 75 can do to protect their independence, prevent life-changing falls, and potentially add years to their life. The 5 exercises we've covered today represent a complete shift in how medical professionals now approach fitness for adults over 75. Moving away from the walking-only mindset that has dominated for decades and toward a more comprehensive approach that addresses the specific challenges of aging bodies. By incorporating all 5 of these exercises into your weekly routine, you're giving yourself the best possible chance of maintaining your independence, avoiding the falls and fractures that so often lead to nursing home placement, and living out your remaining years with the mobility and confidence that you deserve. These exercises are not meant to replace walking entirely, because walking still provides cardiovascular benefits and mental health benefits that are valuable, but they address critical aspects of physical function that walking simply cannot touch. And that's why orthopedic surgeons across the country are now prescribing them to their patients over 75 as non-negotiable components of a healthy aging program. If you found this information valuable and you want to continue learning about evidence-based strategies for staying healthy, mobile, and independent as you age, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Thank you so much for watching.